and the war, the legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. With the semblance of a blaze, with gratitude and rage, we touch another page with delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded, the teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, the world to you. But the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demons searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
All right, can't seem to get my act together today. having issues with my Bluetooth. How's everyone doing? We build it as we fly it. I will get it right. I will get it right. How's it going, Nicer? How's it going, Aaron B? Let me see here. Let me go sure. Because I want to make sure I'm able to hear my guest today. And we have a special guest in the building, African Tigress. You should go definitely and click on her name in the title and go ahead and check out her channel. Okay? Make sure you check out her channel. Ba, ba, ba. Or I may just turn the echo cancellation on and do something with this. So give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second while I all right. All right. I'm going to use the echo cancellation and I'm not going to use my headphones. And we're going to just go like this live. Let's turn that on. And it's the African Tigress. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. How are you doing, Ike?
I am fine, thank you. And I see that you're outside today. Well, what's the deal? Are you on the road, you're traveling? Are you homeless? What's going on?
I'm in some very beautiful place. As you can see behind me, there's some water. I'm just chilling somewhere close to the ocean.
Wow, very nice indeed. Now,
Yeah.
the last time we met, we actually met in Ethiopia, and
Yep.
we did an interview in your channel,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's going on with that. I'm showing that right now, and also we were in let me see. I think Habesha Traveler also did something, documenting that evening. And then since then,
Yes.
you moved. But before you know what? Someone wanted to join us real briefly. This is the person who set us up in Ethiopia together, Mr. Let me go. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
Hola, shalom. That's the other one. Assalamu alaikum. Sasa dada. Nyaje.
Poa sana. Poa kabisa.
Poa sana. Kabisa?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how are you doing? How's your travels been?
Amazing. So far, so good. Challenges as usual, just like everything else. There'll be challenges, but yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving my life.
Okay. Right. So in the Pan-African space, they know me as the Great K-Man. Over here in this space, I'm known as Dr. Noir. So yeah, so basically, African Tigress is a great person that shows a lot about Africa, right? She shows herself about the world. She likes to travel. You know what? I'm so proud of her when she finally decided to leave the country, because she was, how I obviously met her is through her channel. She's doing a lot of live streams and showcasing different African Americans who are thinking about traveling to the continent, who already have traveled there and seeing different things. And I actually like the fact that you decided to say, you know what? Why am I staying in one small village? Why don't I go and become a global villager instead?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, I think I've never been so happy with my decisions. And I think that's one of the best decisions I've made. And in all aspects, I'm happy. Like, all aspects, I don't even know how to express myself. myself, but I'm definitely happy with my decision.
Yeah. So, question. I have a couple questions for you, and obviously, Mr. Ike, the host of the with the mostest rapping skills over here, can ask some more. But some of the questions I have is obviously when you go into Africa, it's a different environment, right? You can't expect the same things. So how have you been surviving going from one country to the next, the legal issues, the politics of crossing borders? How has that inculcated into your experience?
Okay, so when I left, I first went to Senegal. No much issues in Senegal, less than 5 minutes. Got my visa into the country for 1 month because for Kenyan citizens, visa to Senegal is free on arrival for 1 month. After Senegal, I went to Gambia. There was only, immigration, especially by land borders, not just land borders in Africa. Most immigration officers just want something small. So they introduced a certain fee that didn't exist. They were talking about, what was that fee? I don't know, clearance fee. So they needed like about $50. I think I paid, but I paid and got in. Then crossing to Guinea-Bissau was the hardest because those people are corrupt as hell.
more than the Kenyans. Like si tunajua watu wetu ndio corrupt sana.
No way. Like the immigration officers here are just on another level. Like they deliberately, like when they just kept being greedy and increasing the amount of money. Like, if there's an immigration visa fee, it has to be constant, right? So they just kept changing the value from this to this. It's supposed to be 25,000 CFA, but they were asking for 110 CFA. That's 110,000 instead of 25,000. That's like for 4 or 5 people, almost 5 people. So we told them because they're not giving us, they could give us they should give us back our passports so we could go back and cross over to Senegal. But they held our passports until it was so late. And because the border closes at 6, they return them when the border is closed. So there's some about 200, 300 meters drive between the border posts between the two countries. So driving to the Senegal side, the border was closed. So we had to sleep. We didn't cross and we had to sleep at the border. So that was like the hardest. But it's so surprising because here in Bissau, like after the next day, we went to the nearby city. There's a city called Ziguinchor in Senegal, whereby Guinea-Bissau has a consulate. So we went there and we got our visas and crossed over to the country. So surprisingly, the people in Bissau are very, very, very friendly. I don't know if I can say they're the friendliest people in Africa. I don't know, but they're just super, super, super friendly. And it's so hard to believe, or it's so hard to think like such a country with amazing people, very friendly, kind, generous, like I don't even know, has animals for immigration officers because those people were just very greedy and they just wanted to deliberately punish us. But after that, the experience has been very amazing because even after I got my visa, in my mind when I was getting into the country, I was like, once I get to this country, I'm never coming back. I'm just going to be here for a week and two maximum, and then I will leave. And this is one of the African countries I'm never stepping back. But then the people here spoiled me with hospitality, kindness, and all that, and it's just everywhere. So I've changed my perspective on that.
Okay. So I have a couple questions for Ike to ask as well. Sorry about your experience in there, but also it sounds like you did enjoy the people, which means that you overall had a pretty good experience because, as you said, these people are extremely nice, welcoming, comforting, and they don't make you feel like you're a stranger. Am I correct?
Yeah. Because even the people themselves, a lot of them, I didn't even know. Like I had subscribers, people who watch me on my channel from Guinea-Bissau. I never thought because I like Guinea-Bissau only has a population of 1.8 million people. So they've been contacting me. They've been kind to me, and I think I'm going to be meeting some ministers here and just some other people. So like right now we're good.
Okay, I'm just going to hand it back over to Ike. But the question that I had, I guess, for Ike is, what sort of solutions do you think that she can have in future when she is in situations where she's at border situations as a content creator? maybe I'm giving it away.
Interesting. No, go. I want you to answer the question, sir, because since you say you're giving it away, and I'm sure you have a particular solution, because my mind is going in many different directions. My mind is
Right,
going
yeah,
in
so-
directions of having multiple, of having other citizenships and so on and so forth. Those things perhaps may cost money.
Right.
My mind is going in direction of certain kinds of clearances. Again, that's more money type stuff. But go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So from everything that you've explained, like my mind is just going to, okay, how can you improve the quality of experience in future? And as you mentioned that you're going to be meeting some ministers, right?
Yeah.
Well, as a content creator, and now congratulations, I know you're going to be hitting the 100,000K, or rather 100K soon, and we're going to be hear it. We're gonna see it. So congratulations on that. You're now at least 95,000, which is incredible. Because I've seen when your channel is a lot smaller, and I've seen how you just propelled. And you know what you did? One thing that I respect is that you do what Ike talks about in this channel all the time, which is you got up, you started doing movements, right? You had many ideas, some of them, and I know one of them, unfortunately, you were involved with a thief that stole part of your business. I apologize for that. But it didn't deter you.
Yeah.
You didn't say, okay, you know what? I've lost this money. I've lost time. I've lost my name. I've lost a reputation. You said, you know what? Yeah, this is true, but I'm going to keep going. And in fact, that is, I believe, when you started to actually make bigger movements. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Like, it's hard for me to allow anyone to steal my joy. I can't allow anyone to steal my joy. And like every experience, good or bad, is a lesson for me. So for every bad or good experience, I learn and I know how to handle it better next time.
Right.
So, hey, Mr. K over there, to go back to the point that you were making earlier about as a
Dr.
content
K.
creator. Dr. K. As a content creator, you mentioned she's going to see some ministers, and how to use this as a leverage to get through certain situations in the borders and whatnot. What were you going to suggest?
Right. So there is several ways that you can go about this in the future, of course. Is that there is obviously the direct route of ministerial, is you actually approach ministers, because as a content creator, and like I said, approaching 100K, you have power. You literally have the power to control how a country is perceived. You'll get several thousand views on your videos. So if you then show that there is abject corruption in a particular form of that country, this will force the ministers, and I mean it in a very real sense, not that maybe, no. You will force the ministers to reconsider the way that the borders are being allowed to run. I remember one YouTuber, Andrew something, the guy who travels around different countries, is a short Jewish man. He had a similar experience, and he made a video, and immediately the border control apologized to him and gave the money back. Now, what you can do, you don't have to make the video. You can just make it ready. Make the video, but not release the video, and make it clear that if this happens ever again, that you will have to show the truth out there. So I think you have to record these events, and then you have to leverage the fact that you are now a superstar. You have to accept it. You are now a superstar, and your words have power. So you should not be in that situation ever again frequently, because now you can leverage, and you can decide which way, if you're going to release it or you're going to communicate first. That's your own decision, but you now have power.
Of course, I have some footages that I plan to release.
Right.
Plan, but only after I have left the country. But before then, maybe, because right now there's just a lot of intervention. I've got some contacts, head of police. I'm going to be meeting some ministers, Ministry of Tourism. They want to take care of me and all that. So maybe the best I could do is just maybe to show them instead of just putting it out there, or maybe they should just think of a way to make it easier, because a lot of people would be interested to visit and all that, because they also want to promote tourism in this country and all that, and investment, because it's a bigger country. It's bigger than Gambia, but lesser population than Gambia. So that's why some of my videos, you'll see it's as if the streets are empty and all that. But yeah, so once I meet them in the course of this week, once I meet them, I'll see how this goes.
Okay, and just some advice, and obviously, do what you do with any advice is make sure it's relevant to you. But I would, if I was in your situation, make sure that they repay back every penny, even if it is just a penny, because that shows a certain level of respect, and also it shows whether they are willing to do the work with you in the future. Because if they don't do it, it kind of makes you start to question where their alignments are, because that is retribution there, and so that you can start from a very clean, positive reflection.
Sure, sure. So once we meet them, we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. So, Dr. K, thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution, and also thank you for the connection that you were able to establish between me and African Tigress. And then we met Bishop Trevor as well in Ethiopia. So, I'm gonna drop you down right now, and let me give a round of applause to for getting your PhD recently.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually, just before I drop off, African Tigress, you still need to come to my school. So we're going to have to arrange that at some point.
Sure, we'll do that.
It's near your homelands, so Okay.
Don't worry.
See ya.
You have my contact.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Okay, bye.
All right. So before we continue, let me go ahead and take care of these super chats over here. I see one from Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Always greatly appreciated. Always welcome. And yes, this is the $20 super chat, which means you are in the tier of sponsor for the show, and your name will be put just like it was put in the last time you gave a $20 super chat. Thank you for the support. Says salute to the host and greetings to the chat. Enjoying family time these days and hope that you are as well. Well, thank you very much. And also, someone was asking, is she Ghanaian or Nigerian? Well, she's neither. She's Kenyan or from Kirinyaga. That's what it was.
Absolutely right.
Aha! Excellent. So we have here Red Sings the Blues with a $5 super chat. He has a channel as well, so he would like to interview you. So perhaps at some point, reach out to her on her via email on her channel, and we'll see. But he's putting down $5 and saying that and expressing his intentions to interview you on his channel. Very much appreciated. So let's go now. Okay, so when we met in Ethiopia, you were alluding to the fact that you may be moving out of Kenya to Ethiopia. Okay, now why did you make the decision? Because I was following you on your channel, and I noticed that yes, you did move out of your little apartment in Kenya. And where did you move to? Did you actually move to Ethiopia? Is that your okay? So tell us why a little bit.
No, I was just tired of city. I was tired of Nairobi. I was tired of skyscrapers. I was tired of routine. I just wanted to experience something different. And I looked at everything that I do, and most of my businesses, they can actually run without me necessarily being in Nairobi. So as much as I left, eventually, once I'm done with traveling, I will definitely go back to settle in Kenya, but I'm very sure that won't be in Nairobi. I think different people like different things. So for me, I just got tired of the city. I got tired of getting stuck in traffic. I got tired of routine. Basically, I just wanted something different. And keeping in mind that every year from I think even when I was still in uni in 2016, 2017, I was still traveling. So then when Corona happened, I was stuck in the house the whole of 2020. I never went anywhere. So it was time for me to just go. Yeah.
And
I'm more free right now because sorry.
No. Go ahead. You're more free.
Okay, so I feel like I'm more free right now because after selling the things I had in Kenya and all that, selling the stuff I had in Kenya, I don't feel like, I have to rush back to Kenya because there's something I have to go. The only thing I have in Kenya that would make me go there is just my family and one friend.
Family and one friend.
One friend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have one friend. So my family and my friend, those are the only things that would, although my friend is planning to planning to join me, which should be fine. But also, I feel like by me traveling and checking out all these other places, it's really nice because I get to see other opportunities. And also the fact that in these countries, especially these countries, I feel like my money would go a long way, especially in West Africa and all that, because Kenya is just so expensive.
So Kenya's expensive, skyscraper, city life, routine, and all that kind of stuff. And then what about Ethiopia attracted you specifically? Because there are many other places you could have moved to, right? Why Ethiopia?
I didn't move to Ethiopia.
Oh, you
That
just
was my
moved
initial.
out. Okay, that was the initial. Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have I don't have an address right now. So
Excellent.
I live
Excellent.
everywhere. Where I lay my head, that's my home.
Excellent. Okay, okay, good. So, would you mind giving
So
people a brief introduction? Because we're gonna get to your traveling, what you've been doing for the past it's about a year now, right, or so, close to a year, about just going to different parts of Africa. But a brief introduction to you and your channel, and what they would expect from going to your channel, of which we want everyone to go and subscribe. Nicer, continue to drop the link to her channel, African Tigress. What is your channel about, and what can they expect to see over there?
my channel is pretty much dynamic. I've done a lot of content. I started with traveling content, and then I also did this content of just trying to connect Africa diaspora and continental Africans. I can hear an echo.
Let me see.
Hello?
I have my echo cancellation off. I don't know why you should be hearing it.
Okay, it's okay now. No, it's not yet.
Okay, so go ahead. When you speak, I'll just mute myself.
Okay. So where was I? Okay, so I started that. I did those videos. I've done videos featuring different people doing businesses, and right now I'm just doing travel videos. But while at it, I'm also looking for like opportunities and all that, because there are some countries that are really close to me. There are some places I would love to invest in future. In some places, you'll get maybe prime property, maybe close to the beach for $10,000 that you can never ever get in Kenya. So there's a lot of countries with potential. Just me going to this, like maybe less traveled countries, less visited countries with a potential for growth, it puts me in a position that I would want to, in a couple of years, I'll be there. So on my channel, you'll see a lot of travel videos, a lot of random experiences, just experiencing the real ordinary life of an ordinary citizen. So I don't consider myself a tourist. I consider myself a traveler, because a tourist is just someone who's going to touristic places and, just, the beach, maybe the Hiltons and the Kempinskis, which is the same experience, because Kempinski in Kenya is same to Kempinski in Ethiopia or whichever country. So I always want something different to see just beyond that. So yeah, if you love to see travel videos, road trips, real life, interacting with the locals, living with the local people in a country, then definitely you should check out my YouTube channel. We are almost at 100,000. So join us before we get to 100,000. We are almost there. In less than a month, we'll be at 100,000.
100%, 100%. Go ahead and help her get over the hump of the 100,000 in terms of subscribers. Now, I like that you said, you're a traveler, not a tourist, and that has to do with the level of integration into the level of, like, for example, right now, literally, you don't have an address, right? You're moving out there 100%. You're integrated with the community. How long are you going to be there? You don't know. How long, where you're going to go next? Maybe you don't even know. So if you want to see that kind of an experience, definitely go out there and check that out, ladies and gentlemen, in her channel. Now, let me ask you this. You mentioned businesses, okay?
Yeah.
Now, let's go ahead and...
Can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So besides that, when I'm traveling, even in some of these least visited countries, you see everybody else, especially maybe non-Africans or maybe like white people, Asians, Chinese, Lebanese, Indians, they're all enjoying Africa. Why can't you also enjoy like businesses here? Like for instance, this country has a lot of cashew nuts, and the people who are running and exporting, they're not natives of this country, they're not black people. So like that should be an opportunity because cashew here is extremely cheap. Yeah.
There are people taking advantage of opportunities and so on and so forth. And I think, okay. So then you mentioned businesses, okay? What was the first business that you started, and how did you get into this? Because one sees you like the title of this stream is "Get Up and Go," so making moves, making movements, traveling, and so on and so forth. And you also mentioned businesses. Now, these are a series of things or things that people don't even do one, but you do a number of them, which is businesses and travel and so on and so forth. So why don't you give us some insight into where you were brought up? I know you grew up in Kenya, right? And how
Yeah.
that perhaps did that influence you? Was there something about how you were brought up, either in your family life or so on and so forth, or was it just something more innate? When was the first business that you started? So give us a little bit insight into your background, and then what was the first business that you started?
Well, the very first business I did was soap, making soap, shampoo, hand gel, and all that. So
Hmm.
I just finished school and I needed some money, so I did that. And during that time, I could knit some stuff with my hands, knitting. So I did knitting, and yeah, I did that all the time before, for a couple of months before I joined university. And I just, because I was moving from one city to another one, I let my family that I left behind to carry on with the business, because now my university was in a different place. So that's the first business I did. I just taught them how to do. I was getting my supplies and all that, making, and I'd created some clientele, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. That was my first experience. But growing up, I didn't come from like a well-off background. It's just, yeah, like just okay. It was
Okay.
just an
Okay.
okay. Yeah, just the desire to see my family and us live better is what drove me to be what I am. And
I
I think
see.
I also got it from my mom, because my mom is very hardworking and very smart. Yeah, so
Hmm.
I think that's where I got it from. And I did that business. I did academic writing. This academic writing whereby you do homework for people, especially US and all that, who don't want to do the assignment, who don't want to do the assignments in school. So you do the assignments, their work, coursework, and all that. So we could do that. And it was also good business, because now you are getting paid in dollars. So
Yeah, yeah. Get that dollar.
yeah,
Get that dollar. Hmm. So you always had that
yeah,
hustle. You said
I've
that
I've
there was
had
also go ahead.
okay. I've also had a shop, and the shop is still running, but I left it for my sister to run it. So yeah, just a lot of things. I've done a lot of things. I do Airbnb business. So if you go to my channel, you check the description, I have some 3 Airbnbs listed there. So in case you're looking for a place to stay in Nairobi or Kisumu in Kenya, you'll definitely get a place to stay. And yeah, just a lot of businesses. One is that one that Polymath mentioned, the
Mm-hmm.
one
That
that
somebody.
got to that the one that yeah, that was also something I was doing, because it
Hmm.
took me a lot of time to build that, because a lot of time to build it. But anyway, it went as it went, but learned my lesson. I'll do something else, I'll do something better.
I see. So where do you get this? Besides the fact that you said that there is a motivation in terms of you wanting to see your family improve in terms of the lifestyle and that you got the hardworking and intelligence aspect from your mom. Now, what would you say, or some of the other hurdles that you had to overcome, or is this something that's just so natural to you in addition to the, let's say, the motivations, the impetus that you have for, wanting to succeed? Or is it, in other words, because this is not a common thing, okay? Now, okay, I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I know number one, it's not easy, and then number two, it's not common, right? The ability to get up and go and do things is not something that people have innately in them. So, what would you tell people when it comes to that? Maybe it's fear that's holding them back. Maybe it's failure. You just mentioned a downfall that you had, something where somebody did something wrong, and so on and so forth. So, any kind of a motivation that you can give people vis-a-vis, you're not coming from a continent with great opportunities. You're not coming from a background with great opportunities, but here you are. You got all kinds of businesses. You got Airbnbs here. You were writing. You were doing homework for people and so on and so forth. You had that go 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 mentality. What could you tell the people in order to encourage them to do more of this kind of thing?
First, I've interacted with a lot of people who are older, like 50 plus, 60, 70, and a lot of them, when they'll tell you about the things they regret not doing when they were young. And I don't want that to be my story. I don't want that. Just knowing that someday I won't have the energy. I'll be tired. I'll be old and gray, and I won't have the energy to do the things I'm doing now. And then I will say, what if I did this? What if I did this? I don't want that. So that's why I do everything. If I fail, that's a lesson. If I succeed, that's okay. That's why, like, I'm always very, how can I put it, accountable for every decision I make. If things goes out, I still take responsibility for it. So that has always been my big motivation. And also because maybe I want to retire before I get to 35.
Nice. Nice. You want to retire before you get to 35. Okay. Okay. And also it's possible, ladies and gentlemen, because she was just telling you earlier that beachfront property, nice, $10,000, correct? Like there are locations in the world where that is possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So someone is asking, with regards to trust now, you mentioned that you left a shop to your sister to run. And now there's several levels of trust. There's a trust of trust in terms of competence and ability to run a business. And then also there's trust in terms of, I'm sure you trust that your sister is not going to steal from you. But someone is asking, can you trust your sister?
Actually, I left it like giving her the whole thing. It's now her business.
Okay, it's a bit, okay, good.
So it's her business now. She's not like working for me. It's her business, something to also, help her improve her life. Because I believe like you have to build your family and the people around you. There's absolutely no way you can have it all and you're surrounded by people who don't have. Because someday, okay, I have my friends. I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy, but I will be. And I want my friends and family to also be rich and wealthy. Because what's the point of having everything and everyone around you is begging?
You don't want them bothering you, right?
It's not about bothering. It's just nice. Because if I would say, now let's go for dinner, it's like, no, I don't have money. Like, I just want I want a good life.
Want a good life. So, ladies and gentlemen, to reiterate some of the main points she made there in terms of motivation, you said, and this is a common saying in terms of people regret things that they don't do. People don't regret things they do. Okay. It is rare that people say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done. It's usually, I should have. Why did I not take this opportunity? Why did I not do this? So on and so forth. So people have different desires, right? So it's not a question of, oh, you should do exactly what this person is doing. It's what is your desire that you are not pursuing right now? What skill, what talent, what opportunity, what's network, what particular avenue and vistas are you not chasing down that you could be? Because let me ask you this, okay? There's another difficulty that comes up when it comes to businesses in terms of customers. You talked about the soap making, for example. How were you able to get customers for the soap making business? You said it was your first business. So there is a typical way in which that goes. Would you want to explain how you were able to acquire customers?
I used to walk. It was one of the toughest things I did because I would go, I know companies and big offices or buildings, and I would see them. I know they would need cleaning soap for their building and windows and all that, shampoo, maybe, and maybe, to clean their toilets and all that. So I would walk and ask. I would ask for the procurement manager. Some would turn me away. Some would look at you like, who's this girl? Because you've been working, you don't have a car, you don't have anything. So yeah, your legs are dusty and all that. It was not easy. But then I got a very nice contract from an insurance company, and like that was just it. You just have to walk. You have to walk, talk. If you drive, talk to people. Like just talk to people, because I think a lot of something that holds people back is fear. Like if I wanna do something and maybe I'm feeling like I'm getting scared, I always say, what's the worst can happen? So as long as it will not kill me, as long as I'm not going to die, the worst that can happen is you telling me no, and that can't kill me.
Mm-mm. Perfectly put. Perfectly put.
Yeah.
You were out there pounding the pavement. You were out there walking. You were using, the shoe leather. You were there talking to the people, getting the rejections. Perfect. Perfect. I mean, I think that the people listening now, especially those who listen in the United States, okay, you people out there listening in the United States, this is someone that had to walk, had to approach people with her dusty legs, as she said, and ask for decision makers in order to push product, service, whatever it may be, in order to get things done. And there is no other way. There is no magic bullet. And then a series of trials, errors, failures, and so on and so forth. And now you are where you are. You didn't just die. You didn't just begin and end with the soap business, right? So what are the things that you've learned along the way that are now helping you along the new businesses, the new agendas, the new endeavors that you have? What are some of the lessons that you've learned from, let's say, the soap business and some of your earlier endeavors?
One of the most important things is you have to always innovate, and if necessary, it comes a time that you have to pivot. Otherwise, for everything you do, our people are watching it. They seeing your success. They're gonna copy. There are some things people can't copy, but then there are things that someone else is going to do. So how are you doing to keep innovating? What are you doing? Like, does it need you to pivot? If it needs you to pivot, change the course or tweak it a little bit, you'll have to. Like that's one most, even in content creation, that's also very important. You always have to see, okay, so this is what I'm doing. Anyone else can do exactly this. So how can I get better in it? So yeah, that's you have to always keep innovating.
Keep
Otherwise,
innovating,
as time
keep
passes,
reiterating. Go ahead.
yeah, as time passes, you'll be phased out.
Without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to those of you who are just coming in. This is my channel, Aiko Gammon, and we have African Tigress over here, and you should check out her channel, okay? You should go there, you should subscribe. She's going on her way to 100,000, okay? And she's going to surpass 100,000, go to 200,000, 300,000. You want to be on the ground floor, ladies and gentlemen. You want to be like, yes, I was there in the pre-100,000 phase. And she's telling you a few important things right now, okay? Things about hustle, things about the grind. She just got a little cut off, but she'll be back shortly. Things about the hustle, things about the grind, things about getting things done, okay? And even if you are in a situation, in a scenario where everything seems desperate, where you don't know, it's not like a place like in the United States where, oh, you have all these opportunities. It's just a question of picking one. You have all these different kinds of infrastructure and so on and so forth to help you. Regardless, you still have to take the initiative. And then secondly, she's saying reiterate, learn, reiterate all the time. And even if you're not learning from failures, even if things are going smoothly, you need to ask yourself, can everybody do what I'm doing? And if that is the case, then what makes me special? What's going to make me weather the storm that's coming? What's going to make me be able to overcome the next wave of competition? How do I make myself unique in the marketplace? Okay. How do I make myself unique in the marketplace? Very, very key there. So someone is asking a question regarding, from your experience, family dynamics, and so on and so forth. Are men, in your experience, more willing to make these moves, or are women more willing to make these moves? Or what are the comments you have to say about that?
Personally, I can say a confident person, because there's a lot of people, both men and female, who cannot do. They're like, oh, you're going to this country, you don't even know any person in that country. So it's the confident person who's willing to make the move, to be honest. Especially with traveling, it's just a confidence thing, because some people cannot go where they don't know anybody. I would go anywhere in the world, even if I don't know anybody, and then when I'm there, I'll figure out something. So I'll say it's the confident person, a confident person, male or female.
A confident person, male or female. Okay. Now, have you always been a confident person in this regard, or when did you learn, or perhaps maybe ways of improving, or when did you improve in terms of your confidence, or is it just a question of experience? The more experience you have, the more confidence you get. What would you have to say about that?
I think I was confident as a kid because I was always the best student. In that village, in the village school, I was always number one. So I think that's made me kind of confident, because it was there. My sister was also top, and my dad used to tell me used to be top. Anyway, every parent thinks they used to be top in school, so I don't know. Anyway, so I think that, and everybody was just so happy. Like, everybody wanted, when they were giving examples to their daughters or their sons, they would be like, oh, you need to be like her, you need to go and study with her, and things like that. So I think that helped me with confidence. And then when I moved, I went to a more challenging school, because that was at the village. So when I went to a more challenging school, I didn't become number one, my usual number one. I was number 82 out of 170 something. But by the next time I improved, came to top 20, top 10, and all that. So I think I did experience during that time. I was also a sickling. I missed school a lot. My confidence went low and all that. But I had a very good support system, because the teachers really loved me, because as much as I could miss school a lot for treatment and all that, I would still perform like maybe top 20, and they really supported me a lot. So I think at that point I kind of lost my confidence. And yeah, later on I just came to be confident, because after that after high school, I went to uni, and I was a student leader at university. I actually didn't want to go for the position, but the students told me, no, you must go for this position, you must go for this. So I think maybe it's just a thing in me. So I don't even know how to explain it.
Makes sense. I think that situation that you explained, whereby you had a nice little crucible, whereby the people around you were top. They call it, big fish in the small pond. Some people call it that. That is a good system sometimes. In other words, you want to be able to look at your relative surroundings and see what your advantages are, and also to be praised, if you will, or to have your. Would you say that it was important for you? Let's say that your abilities were not recognized earlier on. Would that have changed your confidence, or you don't think so? That you were still going to be confident regardless?
I think I would still have been confident regardless, because when I look at myself, I just see my mom, and it's like I'm just her reflection. Like, she's that. I think so. It's just maybe in the blood. I think that's
okay.
how I would say it. Yeah.
So you mentioned that your dad was. You mentioned your dad was tough or strict in terms of in terms of, like, is that what you meant by tough? You said he's strict. Okay, because you've mentioned your mom a couple of times. Now, what did you learn from your dad?
My dad is an academician. My dad has PhD. So my dad is the one who used to also tell me, when I was in school, I used to be number one. So when I would go to school, I would tell teachers, I also want working hard to become number one, because my dad tells me he used to be number one all the time.
I see. Okay. So what was the dynamic between your mom and your dad in terms of them encouraging you? Did your mom push you more, or your dad push you more? Was your dad more of the strict disciplinarian, and then your mom was more of an example? Well, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
No, my dad is very strict. Like my dad is very strict, has always been very, very strict. I think even up to university level, you just have to perform. It doesn't like as long as he's paying your fees or as long as you're living under his roof, there are rules and things that you must do in a certain way. There's no two ways about it. Yeah, as long as you're under his roof, there's a way you have to do certain things. Yeah, and of course now my mom is strict and sweet. So she'll be firm the next minute she's sweet. Dad is strict.
I see. Do you think that that's important, or let me paraphrase this question I'm about to ask you. There is no way to get it perfectly when it comes to parenting. There is no way to get it perfectly in any relationship, and one as important as parenting, even more so, right? So I'm not saying, oh, we're gonna nitpick, try to make something perfect. It's just, generally speaking, do you think having that strict dad that instills a certain level of confidence and performance and standards is good overall? And what perhaps are some adjustments that you might suggest be made?
Yes and no. Um, it's good because it gives me confidence and all that, but it also kind of created fear in me. Yeah, like being afraid of him, like, oh, if he's the one coming, you're running, you're running, you're going to pretend as if you've been studying and and pretending that you are doing the right thing, or that I like you are not doing the right thing. You are doing the thing that you wanted to do, not, but you end up doing what he wanted to do, wants you to do. So
I see. So
yeah,
if
so
there's
it's
a way
good
of
and not good.
instilling standards and if there's a way of instilling high standards and strictness and so on and so forth without in the same time making people afraid and such that they're now going behind your back, that'll be a more optimal situation,
Yes,
you say? Okay.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, I see. But overall, I mean, given your success, given the way you move, given the things that you do, I would have to say that it seems like, as Mr. K Polymath is saying over here, that it seems like you had a good childhood overall. Would you say?
Yeah, my childhood was great. My childhood was great. Yeah, I can't complain. It was great. Had amazing time growing up in the village with my family, my cousins, my sisters, going to the same school with my sisters, friends, and all that. Yeah, my childhood was pretty great. I loved it, and when I see children, they remind me of my childhood. So growing up in the village, even when you lack, you don't know that you lack. You don't know that you are lacking. So you may not have all the fancy things and all that, but you don't know that you are lacking. So once you get exposure and you see something better, that's when you realize that you're actually lacking something.
This is a very good point. The point is that people don't have this absolute level in terms of when it comes to dissatisfaction. It's all relative. Like, people always say, for example, in the United States, the poor people have fridges, microwaves, and cell phones, right? Like they have freezer, they all that kind of stuff. The poor people are fat in America, but they're dissatisfied not because of this absolute level of what is had, but it's the relative level. It's the fact that their neighbor has, or they can see in the TV people with Bentleys and so on and so forth, and the environment. So you mentioned, like, growing up in the village, you didn't have much in terms of absolute value, but you did not even know that you didn't have much. So you
Exactly.
grew up with the confidence and all that kind of stuff. So that is very key. Let's move now to your travels in recent times. What pushed you into this particular direction in terms of your YouTube channel? Because when I asked you about YouTube channel, you said that you've done many different kinds of things, but more recently, and what I know you for anyways, is traveling all over the place in Africa. What sparked that particular endeavor, that journey, if you will?
Actually, initially, my very first videos, and even before doing YouTube, I've always wanted to travel. Actually, growing up, I could see planes, and I really wanted to become a pilot. So I could see different places. I had an uncle who was in the US, and I really wanted to see what the US looked like. So I was a child, I didn't know anything. So yeah, so I really wanted to see what the US looked like. and I thought like maybe I should become a pilot. That way I will see, lots of places. So even before I started YouTube, and if someone checks my first videos on my channel, they were actually about travel. So travel is just something that has always been in me. It's just that I didn't travel in 2020, and I also thought like having now the audience and the attention, I could also use my platform for other courses, which I would still do. I'll use the platform to be a voice, to be a bridge, and I will still travel, because just because I'm traveling, I'm still being a bridge to people in these different countries, in the villages, in the communities that I meet. So yeah.
So now let's talk about some of the countries you've been in. We mentioned this particular. Right now you're in Guinea-Bissau. Could you educate the audience regarding where that is located? And other countries that are around the area.
Okay, so Guinea-Bissau, if you know the map of Africa, Senegal, after Senegal is Gambia, in between Senegal, and then Guinea-Bissau on the south side of Senegal. Guinea-Bissau has two neighbors, Senegal and Guinea-Conakry. And it's the third most forested country in Africa. And they speak Portuguese. The population is quite small, about 1.8 million people. It's bigger than Gambia, but Gambia bigger in landmass than Gambia, but smaller in population. And they speak Portuguese and Creole. They have several. How many islands you got? Many, like about 80. I don't know if I was told about 80 or something, but some of them are not habitable. So yeah.
Oh, so they're a coastal country. Okay, I see.
Yes,
now,
yes.
So what are some of the things you've learned with travel? Okay, let's say we were talk about culture and etiquette, for example, like the different ways in which. What are some tips that you can give people? Because some people are afraid of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, acting the wrong way, and we know that different places have different cultures and different ways of sitting, talking, standing, even how close you stand, personal space versus. And all kinds of things that vary from place to place. How loud your voice may be. For example, people complain everywhere that Americans are too loud. The Japanese are very quiet. The places there was a place in Europe I was where people just stand really close to you in line. Right, you're lining up for something, and the guy's just right there next to your back, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" But I guess it's just kind of their way. So, what are some of the things that you've learned along the way, and some of the tips you can give people regarding etiquette in traveling?
I think the first thing is be an observer. I talk, but I'm not the first person who's going to talk and all that. First, I listen. The most important, listen, like use your eyes, see, smell, and listen. Based on that, you are able to know how you are going to interact with the people. And although one thing is most places, especially here, people are just like really so kind. If you're going to be interacting with people, if you meet people, if you have something to, not really money, but like sometimes when I go to these places, some people just need, like if you're going to a place, some people just need simple things, just giving. When you give, you receive more. So yeah, so that's what I've actually learned. And people are so kind. People are so kind. Just humble yourself. You don't know everything, and stop acting like you are the know it all, because a lot of people go with this mindset like that these people who have this mindset like maybe because they are from a more developed country and all that, they know everything. So you want to go there and start correcting everything. No, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. First, you have to act like you don't know and try to find out why they are doing, and then you have to tell them, oh, what about if you did it this way? So you just don't go, no, because now people don't like hearing no. So the best way is just learn how to interact with the people first before you can communicate to them.
I see. Now, is this something you've always had, this particular understanding that you need to acclimate yourself to the environment? You said see, smell, listen, and then you know how to interact. Is this something you've always known, or you learned that as you traveled? Or
I think that's something just with my personality. Surprisingly, a lot of people I'm not very like I do YouTube and all that. So surprisingly, when people meet me, like I'm pretty much a quiet person, unless I'm so used to a person. That's when I'm like really up loud and all that. But pretty much a quiet and a very observant person. I'm mostly that person who will keep quiet and just be the observing and learning.
Mm-hmm. Observe, learn, don't go correcting people, and be generous. Okay, I think that those are very good tips there. If you want to travel, you want to go to different places, you want to absorb different cultures. Observe, learn, be generous, and don't go telling people how to do because you think, I've been so many different places, I have this, I have that, so on and so forth. It doesn't work. So when it comes to food, what you want to tell us about like some things you liked and some things you haven't liked so far in your travels? Where have you had some of the best foods, and where are some of the places where you couldn't eat?
Uh, okay,
No
some of my
shade,
best
as they
food
say. Go ahead.
was yeah, some of my best food was in Ethiopia. Like I love injera, and they had a lot of vegetarian options. That I love that because I'm tired of eating meat and chicken and fish, and because that's like everywhere. So they had a lot of that. So I enjoyed that in Ethiopia. Yeah, that was my I enjoyed eating in Ethiopia. That's the country I've had the best eating, the best food. My biggest challenge, or one of the most challenging place, was Congo. Oh my goodness. I could not relate to the food. It was so tough for me. I even remember the last day when I was leaving Congo. I'm leaving, for instance, if I'm leaving tomorrow evening, so today I've not eaten the whole day. So I'm just counting on tomorrow. Maybe when I'll get to the airport, maybe the restaurants would have something better. I go order, they give me very bad food that I can't eat. And I don't know how they prepare it. They prepared it. So like the only food I ate was like when I was boarding the plane, like when the cabin crew was walking down with those trolleys, I was like, just give me food fast before you take to everybody else, because I was basically like starving. Like it was really tough, and my biggest problem is that they put mayonnaise in everything and too much oil in food, like meat and all that. I think
Whoa,
they
whoa,
would
whoa! Hold
cook
on a
it
second.
even in the
You're
streets
saying
or
in
wherever they cook
Congo
it.
they put mayonnaise in everything?
Too much, like it was just too much mayonnaise. And then when they cook, even like nyama choma, that is barbecued beef or meat, when they do it, when they finish, there's some oil that has some cabbage, I don't know, they dip it in, so it's just dripping with oil. And that to me is very irritating, so I couldn't eat that. I went to the market to look for fruits, walked in that market, I only got bananas, no other fruits, no apples, no oranges, no mangoes. Like for me, it was my toughest, because now I got to a point where I was only taking like soda and bread. It was honestly like that was tough.
Mm.
There's a restaurant I went, I remember, and I asked for takeaway plantain. They gave
Mm-hmm.
me 7 slices, not 7 slices of plantain. When you slice plantain like this for
Mm-hmm.
seven
Mm-hmm.
dollars, like, can you believe? It's like one
That's
banana
ridiculous.
sliced seven, and then for $7. So it was too much for me. Like it was crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about the Ethiopian food? Because, and I think that K Polymath is commenting there. It's like one of the best salads I've ever had. I mean, generally speaking, Mediterranean influenced places, they tend to be very good with their vegetables and so on and so forth. But the salad in Ethiopia was great. My personal experience. What did you think about the food in Ethiopia? Yeah, maybe I'll share that video
I
again as
loved
as
the
we're
food
we're
in
talking.
Ethiopia.
Okay.
I loved the
What
food in
was it? What was it? Do
Ethiopia.
you
I
like do you
felt,
like the injera? What do you like?
yes, I like injera, but I never liked it immediately, because the first time I was in Ethiopia was 2017, and coming from Kenya, I'd always had people talk about injera this, injera that, injera. So when I was getting to Ethiopia, landing in Ethiopia, it was at night, and I had to order something. I ordered injera. I regretted because that food was so bad. Like at that moment, like my tongue was not used to it, so I really hated it. I actually slept hungry that time. But then there's a friend in Kenya who has an Ethiopian restaurant, so I could go to his restaurant a lot of times, and I would taste injera until I got to a point of just loving it. So I love injera. It's great, and the sauce they put, the different vegetables, greens, lentils, and all that. Like I love that.
So you were not used.
And of course,
you
this dinner was great. The dinner you took us was great.
Yeah, good times in Ethiopia over there. And you did not expect the sourness of the bread of the injera, or what? What was it? What put you off about it?
Honestly, it tasted to me like towels, napkins.
It tasted like
The first
towels.
time, yeah, and even when you know how they wrap it, so like when I was eating it, when I said, okay, let me give it a chance. Okay, of course, breakfast had lots of other options besides that, but I said I'll give injera a chance again, because the one I had at night was white, and this one was brown, and then this one is white. So when I was eating it, I just felt like these are napkin towels or something, like because how they wrap it. But yeah, right now I really love it.
I see. Now, let me thank you very much for your time. I understand that you're probably busy and so on and so forth. And let me see how we're doing here in terms of we got okay, cool. So, in terms of the business opportunities when you're traveling, okay, or opportunities that you've seen in terms of travel, you mentioned that you have Airbnbs in Nairobi, for example.
Yeah.
But what are some other opportunities that you've seen in these different countries, and ones that you may be thinking in the back of your mind to take advantage of, or some things that you could tell other people in terms of the various opportunities that are out there in these different African countries that you're traveling through?
Okay, for instance, if someone would have a restaurant here in Bissau that has Wi-Fi, I mean, you'll have a lot of clients, especially the people, even the locals, they need that. But internet is so pretty expensive in this country. So if you would have a restaurant that has that, it would be nice. I think if you'd invest in recreation, because, okay, Bissau, if I compare Bissau to Gambia, people here love, to have fun more, and are more kind of free. I don't know how to put it. Maybe it's because of also religion and all that, because,
we'll blame your dad.
like Gambia is mostly religion is mostly Muslim. Then here people, it's like Muslim is about not even half the population. There's African spirituality, Christianity, and all that. So if someone would create like a proper recreational place, like where people can just go have fun, that's something that would work. If someone would do like a cashew processing, because cashew here, it's exported and processed abroad. So if someone would do cashew plant here, I was told there's one, but it's not like really, really good. So if someone would do that, because from cashew you can make cashew jam, cashew wine, you can make biofuel. There's a lot of byproducts that you can make from cashew. So apart just from processing the cashew for eating, there's a lot of other products that you can make from it. So that's also an opportunity someone could take advantage of. And I think most African countries, someone would provide a solution to electricity. For instance, like Nigeria, the electricity is like, I don't know, but some of these countries also the challenge. You just have to find out, because some of these countries, maybe it's just the system, maybe who knows, maybe the government is the one selling generators, so they want to keep making their money, so they don't want, because a country like Nigeria is a country that is so big, lots of people, lots of smart people, like generating electricity shouldn't be a problem. That's one thing I've never understood. Like, why does Nigeria have problem with electricity? Because Nigeria and Congo are the countries that have gone to that have problem with electricity. Well, this country is okay with electricity. The only problem is it's only being it's provided by a ship it's a ship in the ocean somewhere here, by some Turkish ship. So if like maybe the government or I don't know private like we have to find a solution to generating energy in Africa.
Okay, so energy generation, and then you mentioned it's things in the agricultural sector. So do
Value
you
addition.
value addition? Can you dig into that a little bit more when it comes to that whole value added thing? What other places can go ahead? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
like that's what I was talking about. Like when you take cashew nuts, you can make cashew wine. Why would like sometimes for every country I go, when I look at the products, jam or whatever, you see they're not made in Africa. Why? So we need processing plants. We need to process our things, add value. You can take bananas. Can you make crisps out of it? You call them chips in America, crisps out of
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, something like that. Just adding value to especially agricultural produce. Can you make cashew jam? Because I've tasted cashew jam, it's nice. I've tasted cashew wine,
Hmm.
it's really nice. But now when you look at it, they made in Spain, made in Holland, made where? So
I see. I see. So when it comes, that has always been something that concerned. Well, okay. So obviously, in order to do things that are heavy in the industrial aspect, you need good transportation, right? You
mm-hmm,
need good other forms of infrastructure, such as electricity, for example, right? So would you say that what
mm-hmm.
this is the lack or the inadequacy of transportation and other forms of infrastructure is the reason why some of these manufacturing facilities and processing facilities are not present? Because you see the case where people take, let's say palm kernel, for example, from Nigeria, they ship it out of the country to go get processed, and then you have to buy back the end product, or cotton or whatever it may be. So would you say that infrastructure is the main thing? And if you're able to go in there and provide good infrastructure, you bridge that gap. Number one, you're making money, but number two, you can then also bring in this industrialization.
I can't say that infrastructure is really the problem.
Hmm.
Maybe lack of the manufacturing infrastructure, which is what needs to be created. But I can't say like transportation is the problem. I think one thing I kind of feel and I notice like traveling, it's maybe we don't like taking risks. This country, for instance, the people speak Portuguese, they speak Creole. But you'll find someone from
Hmm.
Lebanon will come. They don't know the language, they don't know anything. They're going to start somewhere. And if we're
Hmm.
talking about
Hmm.
infrastructure, if we had a plant here, if we had like a cashew value addition to cashew plant here in Bissau, how come we will still be able to export and send it to these other countries and we make money out of it? Because either way, it's transported by sea. The sea is already there. So we have to
Hmm.
find a way that, okay, let's make it here and then we can export it. Because either way, we are exporting it raw and it's still coming back. So it's still being transported and back.
Hmm. 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 I see. This
Yeah,
is
we just have to, and also people being afraid to take risks because maybe this country language barrier and all that, but as long as you're in an environment, because I see what these people do, like in Congo there's a place I went, the whole street is like Lebanese and whatever, and they speak Kikongo, like how Kikongo, and they speak Lingala, like can you believe it? I think maybe, I don't know. I just feel like maybe as Black people, maybe as Africans, we are afraid of taking risk and venturing into what we don't know.
Hmm. There you have it. You heard it. You've heard. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Black people out there all over the world, afraid of taking risk and venturing into what do not know. This is a thing that is seen in many different aspects. Okay, even over here in America, so on and so forth. I know it seems like the sun is setting over where you're at. We're winding up. We're winding up.
Yeah.
Taking risk, going into places where you're not particularly comfortable. Um, people over here, for example, amongst the African Americans, if you will, or ADOS or such and such, there's this idea of, okay, you take these jobs that are secure. You go into the government, or you go into, oh well, these plants, these processing plants left, or the Ford manufacturing company, or the GM company left, so now we don't have these secure jobs anymore. Well, how about things that are less secure? How about going into places where there's a higher level of expertise required, and where the ceiling is higher, where now, okay, go ahead and study dentistry, study engineering, and then there are many things that open up to you: construction management, project management, procurement, and machine operation and rentals of the machinery for the construction. All these different kinds of things open up to you if you simply go ahead. You just mentioned that anyways, I know it's getting dark over there. Let me give you the last word. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to African Tigress. She's been very generous with her time, and she's dropped gems over here. She's told you how to travel, how to observe and be generous, and not speak before spoken to, not be the last to speak when you're going around about there. There is always a way people can help you out, and so on and so forth. There are many opportunities. She's given many gems, right? But if you don't mind giving us the last word, any final thoughts, and then we'll let you go, and we'll definitely make sure that we have people there going to your channel to push you over the 100,000 subs. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, it's very simple. Just think about the thing you probably want to do right now, or you're planning to do. You probably thought about it 5 years ago and you never did it. Can you imagine if you started 5 years ago? Where would you be now? So so always take the risk. As long as it's not going to kill you, what's the worst can happen? Like, you should always ask yourself, what's the worst can happen? As long as it's going to be, even if it's a job interview that you're going to, or just going to knock that door to seek something that what you need is there, just go talk. Is it that company you're looking for a job? Is it that business that you want to start? Like, what's the worst that can happen? The business will fail. If the worst would be business would fail, but even as it fails, you'll pick lesson and you'll be better. You will not die because a business has failed.
Thank you.
You will not die.
You will not die, yeah. For sure. Is it going to kill you? What's the worst that could happen? These are, I think, words that we can all live by. So I'm going to let you go now, drop you off to enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be in touch again, Thank you very much for doing this. And I'm going to drop you off now, and then I'm going to say a couple of things in closing. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a lovely, morning or afternoon.
Something like that. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Yes. Yeah, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Dr. K Polymath, if you don't mind hopping on again so that we can expand upon some of the things that were stated here. I like the whole thing of what's the worst that could happen. This is something that I always think of. Okay, this is a way in which I operate. This is, for me, especially as a man, it should be default, right? Am I going to die? Okay, and anything short of death is going to make you stronger, generally speaking. Okay, are you going to die if you go ahead and you start doing this thing now, whatever the thing may be? In other words, the steps that you need to take, those few steps that you need to take for that journey of 1,000 miles. Okay. She just mentioned there are a few things that take more than 5 years to do. Okay. You may, getting a master's in engineering, for example, could take you 5 years, if you put your head down, and so on and so forth. Starting a business and then growing it to a considerable size could be a 5-year thing, especially if it's something that involves just moving and selling of goods. It takes about 6 months to, get the warehouse, get the goods, stock them up in there. It could be 6 weeks. Okay. She said, hey, if you had started 5 years ago, where would you be now? If you had started 5 years ago, where would you be? Something else which I've heard Dr. Thunder say as well. He said that his father always used to say, hey, picture yourself 5 years from now. Okay. Picture yourself 5 years from now. You may not even know the silly reasons why you did not start doing the thing that you're supposed to do 5 years ago, okay? You may not even know what it was, okay? It may just be some nonsense, some laziness or whatever. But is that reason worth depriving your future self, and I'm paraphrasing now, okay? Don't come for me, Dr. Thunder. Is this silly reason worth depriving your future self of all the benefits that you would have gained? Okay. Because if you decide to do it, boom, let's say it's go ahead and get some degree, go ahead and start some business, go ahead and pursue some endeavor. Picture yourself in the future, 5 years, you would already have it, right? But if you don't get it, what was the reason? And is the reason worth shackling your future self with the burden of not having it? Mr. K, Polymath, Dr. K, could you say something? Just test your audio.
Yeah, my audio is great. Thank you very much.
So go ahead and chime in, if you will, where you will, vis-a-vis the interview.
Yeah, I want to start off by saying shout out to Fine Bee's Insight. Wonderful interview. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. African Tigress is a good example of what you can do when you just decide to get up and go. Like sometimes you can think, you can theorize to infinity, and that basically means you think to no end meaning an actual beginning, and you don't actually do anything. Now again, it does depend, and I know Mr. Yedu is going to come for me, but just remember, everything is at the level of speaking relative to the individual you're speaking to. But yeah, so I'll try to chime in over here. For example, as far as I understand from African Tigress, she has engaged in several businesses. One of them, as she stated in one of her videos, she worked with someone who she could not trust, who did technically scam her, stole everything. She worked on a series of language portfolio. So she was teaching Swahili. She recorded the videos. She did all the work, basically. But the individual turned left and said, nope, I'm going to steal everything, because she was somewhat in charge of some particular aspects of things. So he was in charge of it. Now, she could have just said at this point, you know what, I'm not going to trust anything anymore. Not even anyone. Notice thing, when people tend to handle situations that don't go to plan, they start to distrust reality itself.
Yeah, they misplace the lesson that was learned. Go ahead.
Exactly, right. So instead of just saying, okay, well, this person was untrustworthy, what lesson can I learn from this individual experience? They generalize to actually having a thing against life. Life itself becomes untrustworthy. And then, of course, it prevents them to move, especially if there was a lot of emotional attachment to that event. So in a way, from the lessons that we can learn from this discussion is that don't necessarily only think of that goose which is giving you the best eggs. Think that if you can find a goose that can give you good eggs, that there are other geese or other animals out there that can give you equally, if not better, yield points. Do not just, it's the mentality of, you guys call it, where is it? A plenty? No, what is it called? Something mindset. Abundance mindset. Right. I don't like to use these words because they're a bit cringe for me, but they're relevant sometimes. If you understand that you were able to get a good thing, then it is only logical that a good thing can also come back again. And actually, sometimes when you hold on too strongly to that one good thing, instead of moving on, let's say if, using her as a case study, she just focused on the fact that she had lost that business venture, which she sacrificed time, tears, sorrow, and happiness. If she was fixated on that one particular business, which does have a good yield point, she would be unable to have done all the other things, the Airbnb, the moving, her channel growing, etc., monetizing, and doing all the things that has led her to be where she is, where she can afford to live by nice beach houses, travel to several different African countries in the world, and she can begin to start focusing on her future, because she didn't fixate on the fact that she lost her goose. She found another animal that had similar properties, if not better. Obviously better, since we don't know, because we didn't see the other goose sort of maturate, but it's pretty good.
So the word that you ended that statement with, good, is quite apropos. It is relevant to this conversation there. In other words, what is the good in all this? Someone might ask. Like, what is the good in this stuff? Why don't I just stay in Lompoc, California, where I was born and where my dad was born, and so on and so forth.
There's
Why
a few
do I have
reasons
to?
why.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us
Yeah,
why.
one of them. Okay, see, I don't want to go to Dr. Thunder's level 5D or anything, but there are things which you must consider, such as morality, right? So if you have kids, for example, if you are responsible for the lives and future of other people, it is in their best interest and your best interest as a moral being to do the best that you can in order for you to enlighten their lives a little bit better. It is your prerogative to make sure that if you become responsible for some other human being's life, bringing another being, something that has the potential to suffer, to feel joy, sadness, pain, and everything in between those colors, it is your responsibility to do your best to give them a life that is a little bit more free.
Let me add to that, if I will. You talked about the kids. Also, in the present, with the humanity and how we live, I always say that there isn't a lack of problems to be solved, right? So, because when people look at business, when people look at pursuing your dreams and your opportunities and so on and so forth, opening up opportunities, they forget that, that simple thing people say, well, find a problem to solve and then charge people for it. It's like, okay, yeah, of course, yes. But it is very true that there isn't a lack of problems to be solved. Listen to what I asked her about business opportunities. What did she mention? She mentioned problems, right? In other words, when you solve these problems, okay, then the money comes. Hence, solving the problems, because I'm mentioning all this for obvious reasons, because you mentioned the moral aspect, okay? These problems need to be solved for moral reasons. Okay, you talked about for your children, for example, but even for you and for the cohort of human beings that are around you right now, okay, there is no shortage of problems to be solved. So go ahead, in any particular direction of your endeavor, you're going to help in solving the problems. You're going to be a better tool. You're going to be of more value in the marketplace to solve problems. You may not be the Elon Musk, but you may just be one of his engineers at SpaceX. You may be one of the machine operators, or so on and so forth. Someone whom is helping to solve the problems. So the kids aspect, absolutely key, but there's no shortage of problems to be solved in the world. So you sitting around, and people, even in your life, okay, even in your life, you may say, hey, I'm good. I got my white picket fence around me. I got my 10 by 10 little room. I'm fine. But guess what? Those kinds of people usually have blinders on regarding the fact that they cannot help their cousin. They cannot help their niece or their nephew. They probably can't even help their mom, right? So they tend to think, okay, well, the little problems around my bubble here are solved. Therefore, I'm going to put blinders on, and there are no problems out there. No, there are problems everywhere, and these represent opportunities. You're going to grow. You're going to be better. You're going to solve problems, and things are going to be. Anyways, anything else to add vis-a-vis the good involved in pushing oneself forward?
Right. Going into the moral contemplation, Mr. Yedu talked about saying what we're discussing here is tentative goodness, and that there is an absolute goodness. That is correct. But I wanted to link it and kind of, make it absorbable to everyone. On Judgment Day, what will God say to you? That is why you should move and do things and actually realize your potential. Everyone has a potential, and that potential will be called into question on Judgment Day. Judgment Day is when you are reckoned with your own self, and your own consciousness will judge you. God judging you is not the absolute abstract being of infinity. God is actually your consciousness. Your own self will judge you, and those feelings that you have, I'm not good enough, I am just sitting, I'm being lazy somewhat. These feelings aren't just to be ignored, nor are they to fixate into insanity. You should listen to these feelings and then follow through to practical implementation. Meaning, for example, if you feel that you're not doing enough or you're not as useful to society as you could be, does not mean then you torment yourself to insanity. Well, no. But what it does mean is you should find out the anchor points, the points at which you can then attach yourself to become useful to yourself, your future state, humanity as a whole. And that is what, if you do this well enough, right? And the trying is actually already a component to this. If you try, and also if you then succeed, you will not be judged harshly. It is yourself, your own soul, your own spirit, your own consciousness that on judgment day will judge you, and you know your own self whether you are living up to your own potential. So if you want peace of mind, clarity, equanimity, meditation is only the beginning, because when you meditate, some of us meditate and it's kind of dangerous, kind of powerful thing to teach people, because what it does, it might lead people to thinking that they are good because they feel good, rather than them truly being whole when they have actually inculcated these movements into the soul and the spirit.
Yeah, you can meditate many things away. By many things, I mean some of the things that you mentioned that ought to prompt you to take action. You can meditate them away. You can practice equanimity to such a high level that you are having the sense of equanimity with you being lazy, with you not pushing forward, and so on and so forth. Because these things that you mentioned that are, your soul, if you will, judging you, it will come at you through the feelings in your body and thoughts in your head. So there is a way of calming your conscience, if you will, using meditation. Okay. So let me ask that, in other words, right, there is an actual cognitive aspect to this. By cognitive, I mean there is an actual, shall we say, thou shalt and thou shalt not aspect. It's not just say, oh, well, I'm going with the conscience, the feeling, right? I'm not just going with, okay, I know something feels like something is telling me to move and I'm not moving. Oh, I have this thing called meditation. I could use it to just calm down anything. But why should not I do that? Is because there's some kind of a code written somewhere as to what I should or should not do.
Right. See, people, many people, especially in the West more so than other parts of the world, and there are reasons for this. One of is that you have time. You're no longer focusing, like, let's say, in a more village life of finding the food. You actually have an easier ability to be so-called fulfilled and content, because the food itself will satisfy enough of you that you will be happy when you have that food that night. So the villagers will run around being happy. It is not just purely the community aspect or how everyone treats each other that makes the villager happy. It is also this very deep psychosocial aspect of fulfillment. Now, when you're in the West, where you have the food, more or less, and I do not want anyone to talk about poor people. No, that's not relevant. There are places you can go to eat every single day. If you don't know them, you have to go and find out where these places are, because they exist. No excuses, anyone here. I know poverty is real, but let's be honest to ourselves. There are homeless places you can go to eat. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're living in a certain community, like a certain kind of village, having food that night makes you happy. Having good family and friends make you happy. Now, when you are in a world where you already have those things, then the consideration now becomes more mental. It becomes more of your soul and your spirit being fulfilled. And if you cannot listen to your spirit that understands, your consciousness or your unconscious will tell you what it wants. It will tell you what it needs, but you won't be listening to it. So perhaps, let's say you grew up, you had a certain childhood, and now you get panic attacks every time you are in front of an audience giving a presentation. Just prior to that, you get a strong panic attack, right? Meditation will help you calm yourself and to circumvent those energies into somewhere where it becomes dissipated, it disappears. But this is a temporary solution to an actual problem. How do you actually then become whole is you must find where this anxiety or whatever it is comes from, and you must reckon with it. You must confront it head on. You must accept why it's there, that the fact that it is there, the fact that it does mean that you're weak. Yes, if you frequently get panic attacks, does mean that you are weak. Weakness means that there is a fault in the system. That's all it means. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with being weak. There is something wrong with wanting to stay that way. That confrontation has to
and without
occur.
just call it, Bravo Alpha November, bitch ass niggerness, if you will. In other words, that's one way to push back on those kinds of people who are like, what in other words, people who don't want to address weaknesses. It's like it's a worse form of weakness.
Right.
But let's just say, let's put on your engineering hat. Is another way to put it. Okay, just stop it. Okay, a weakness in the system. A burnt out line there, a weak link in the chain, some particular weld wasn't done correctly, so on and so forth.
Right.
You don't go denying these things. But I like the fact that you mentioned something about reality being the check. In other words, I mentioned your conscience, okay, because you're talking about the judgment. And I'm like, okay, the judgment day is in your consciousness. It's going to manifest itself only in so many ways, right? Feelings in the body, image in the head, talk in the head. My famous FIT, feeling, image, talk thing. And then one may ask, well, how about I just master feeling, image, and talk such that even my conscience doesn't bother me anymore? And then you say, oh, no, wait. The conscience is pointing to a fault in the system, a reality, okay? Something which can be pointed to out there in shared space reality or something like that. There's something about your system in terms of how it interacts with the rest of the world that is at fault. And even, no matter how you do calm your conscience down or calm the panic attacks down, you still have to go and face that other aspect of reality which you're not dealing with yet.
100%. As Jordan Peterson says, the great Muzungu philosopher says, is that you must go and confront your father. You must go rescue him from the belly of the whale. What that means is, first, you have to get eaten, right? Inside a whale, there is no oxygen. You will probably become, you'll suffocate. So that means you must die. There is a death aspect that comes with saving a part of yourself. Confronting that there is a weakness, for example, is already in itself part of the resolution. Mr. Yedu made something very interesting about modern psychology, is that when you go into these people, right, the therapist, in fact, it's kind of sad in a way because they want you to become a perpetual customer. Most of psychology, they don't want you to solve the problem. They want you to figure out your problem, but they can actually help guide you, but they tend to not do this for a reason. They either medicate you, right? By medicate, I mean they focus on the medication aspect. There's nothing wrong with using medication to help a patient recover. That is perfect. It's a tool. Medicine is a tool. But if you look then at the more so-called psychological psychologists, they also don't necessarily help you uncover all these things. They help you manage your problem because they want you to be a customer. So part of this whole experience is knowing and being able to demarcate, well, what do these people want from me? Are they really trying to help me? Well, let's say this, right? If you notice with headphones usually break at one side before the other side. They are manufactured to break at one side, more or less, at some point, because they need you to keep buying more headphones. Both of them will never break. In fact, you could even use it for another 10 plus years. The other side will still be working, but they're manufactured that way so that you can be a perpetual customer. That is just how the economy works. So you as the individual must be aware of that there are conspiracies against you that are always operating. Do not be fixated on these conspiracies because it's also irrelevant. Be aware of them and then seek that calmness, that resolution from within. Fix your problem, but you must again be willing to die inside the belly of the whale, and then rise like Jonah did 3 days later.
So yeah, there's something about, for example, in one of Jung's books, Carl Jung, that is, he was talking about the fact that when he was studying for his, getting his psychology or whatever it was, like becoming a psychiatrist, that there was this kind of non-reality involved with the way that the patients were treated. In other words, they never ask what happened or what is the patient actually dealing with, okay? They just assume that symptoms just float out there somewhere. Like it's just, oh yeah, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I give it a name, which usually doesn't mean anything, okay? Scientific names, again, usually it's like, the whole narcissism. So, oh, there's the story of Narcissus. I'm just going to call something narcissism. Now, if I add an ism to it, or if I add an ist to it, or a tick, as you said earlier, one thing or something like that, then, now I'm scientific, right? But you really haven't solved any problem. So it's like, but he was like, okay, what happened to this woman? What is this thing? She keeps on saying this name in her periods of delusion, of hallucination. She keeps on saying this thing. What is that thing? What is going on, right? There must be some reality, even if it is of a different structure than the one that you are used to interacting with. But there's something in there. Right?
100%.
What is it about? Because I think it's something about the modern mind, modern means, and so on and so forth. That just kind of completely divorces reality from things that don't fit what they might call reality, and perhaps they don't even believe in reality anymore.
It's because reality has always been a good marker for being, right? If you are a nice little intuitive like Yeduaru in the plains of Africa or the caves of the Caucasus Mountains, right? If you do not accept that the seasons are real gods, right? So there was in the Caucasus Mountains before, when we were dealing with the Neanderthals and then the Mzungus that lived in the Caucasus Mountains, if you did not accept that there is a god known as winter, if you did not accept that this god that is winter must be respected, and that if you do not prepare food for the winter, a long season, of at least 4 to 5 months, I'm including autumn there is a lag period. If you don't accept that this god exists, guess what would happen is you would die, because you would not have enough food, water stored in order to survive this event. This god must be respected. In the modern times, the god of winter is circumvented by man's interventions of, well, warm houses. Even if you're homeless, there are homeless shelters. Reality is no longer forcing you to comply anymore like it used to. So, of course, it allows that spirit of delusion to come and take over the mechanisms of the person's mind. However, the one God that must be respected is your mental health. Your mental health will come back and bite you every time. You can try to keep it at bay, but you cannot bargain with it. When it's time for Judgment Day, right? Your Judgment Day occurs every so often. The first Judgment Day is when you're 25 years old. You have your quarter life crisis. This is when your mind starts to think, I was raised this way. My parents told me this. However, it seems like my parents may have led me a little bit behind. How should I process that? Then you were told other things about reality that you realize it's not quite as clear as it was. That's your first reckoning. You start to have that psychological, you have your first moment of ego death. That is the first Judgment Day that occurs in your life. Now, if you refuse to contend with the ego death, right, fight through it, resolve it, you will continually put on these unresolved issues across time as layers and layers and layers until as you get older, and this will keep putting you at a disadvantage in relation to life, to a point whereby you would be basically just dragging your foot across life. The so-called happiness that people seek really is just equanimity, which can be reached if you, at every stage of Judgment Day, contend with everything that is bringing up to your consciousness. That is a reality check that happens in the modern times. It's more mental.
It is. The thing about it is so simple. Let me put it this way. Like, in other words, the know-how from experience, from intuition, so on and so forth, that undergirds these things which we've just said. Okay, the know-how which says, okay, look, I have to contend with what the conscience, what the Judgment Day, what my emotions, those things that I know within me in terms of my inadequacy is telling me, and then from experience, I know how I need to contend with them, and so on and so forth. But once you've gone through that, the system is so simple in the sense that you wake up in the morning, as I like to say, I wake up in the morning, I'm scared, right? The first thing I need to do is fight the fear. Why am I scared? I'm scared because there are things I have to do. I'm scared because there are, things I've bitten that are more than I can chew, presumably. And there are things I have to juggle. There are many things in the back burner and the front burner. There are deadlines I have to meet. There's interviews I have to do. There are so on and so forth, right? So the first thing I have to do is fight that fear. But guess what? The fear or the anxiety, that waking up, that existential angst, if you will, is a great indicator for me every day that, just deal with this thing in a real way, in two ways. Number one, in terms of coming to terms with it in your consciousness. And then number two, getting up, okay, and then go and do those things, okay? So it's almost like this perfect little barometer that always tells you what to do, right? So the system just keeps on working. Now, I mentioned, okay, I got to know all these other things which you just said, okay? At least for me. For me, I have to know. Some people just get up and go, right? So I got to know those things, but then I have all these things that are constantly, I just follow my conscience, I follow my nose, I follow my intuition. Therefore, once I know these things, I just know that this little feeling that I'm having right now is an indication that I have to fight something. I have to do something. I have to become more one with something. If I am all of a sudden feeling a feeling of jealousy or some negative feelings towards somebody, I'm like, good information there. Okay, watch it. Practice your meditation on it, and then also change behavior with regards to it. It's just constantly making you better, these things. And that's why you need to be self-aware. How do people become self-aware enough to even see these things, Mr. K Polymath?
Yeah, well, what is self-awareness, right? First, self-awareness, now this is just an abstraction, meaning there are within anything that I ever say or anyone says, there are infinite ways you can represent that data point. I'm choosing one particular linear way, meaning from point A to point B, of explaining this concept. But the truth itself is everything, meaning, I'm not going to go there, but let me begin. In the Bible story, right, there's a story of when God created man, and then man did a wrong thing by eating the fruit, right? Mm-hmm. Many people say it's an apple, although I don't know why. Now, when man ate this fruit, he was aware of the knowledge of good and evil. That is the fruit of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Man was aware of himself. He became self-conscious. Now, when man became self-conscious is when, prior to this, man was simply following what was good, because man was inculcated into goodness. He was already in line with God. Mm-hmm. But now man had the potential, or rather he had the knowledge of what good is and what non-good is. Self-awareness is knowing that you're not good, that you're a pile of feces, but still the world is inculcated with various things that you must contend. You must be aware that, okay, I use this phone which has coltan, right? Tantamite minerals that I use for the semiconductors, the transistors in your phone. And you must contend that there are poor little Congolese kids who are being forced, more or less, to mine these tantalite resources. You must accept that you are part of the system that you say that you hate. And you must contend with that and actually say, yes, I am just as bad as the people that sell me these equipment or make these skid mine these. You cannot say, well, I need it because I need it for work. Well, yeah, that is true. You do need it for work, but you must also accept that you are the reason why these kids are in this mess. And then you must also accept that you choose not to go and stop using these equipment because, yes, you do need them. That self-awareness over there allows you to contend with infinity in a way that makes sense because you resolve the problem. You're a being. You have a right to live and you have a right to do what you want to do. But at the same time, you are also inculcated as the oneness. You're connected to all these kids, especially the ones who suffer. What this will also do to you is in the future, when you have power, is you might be able to change some fates in this world. But if you refuse to be even aware of this problem, say, well, that's not true. I'm not really the one, making these kids do this. You're already now building lies, falsities within your own mental. As I've said previously, you must be aware that you are both the victim and the victimizer, both. That is the first step of self-awareness. If you can accept that you are just as bad as all the bad people you say in your life to somebody else, as they are also bad to you in your life, you are already on the path of self-awareness.
Okay, so I like how you're explaining it. You're explaining it it's a non-experiential way. You're talking about accept these propositions, right? So just to restate the proposition here, and that's how Jordan Peterson always talks about reading history. Okay, we now expand into time. Pick whatever oppressor, right? He talks a lot about the gulags, or let's say the Nazis, right? And consider No. Believe that you are that Nazi guard. Okay. The minute you start saying that's not me, it's just like, stop it. Okay. That's the problem with the world today, is everybody thinks that the problem is outside of them. How could that possibly be the case? How could it possibly be the case that the problems of the world are outside of each individual human being? But somehow, the problems just persist because of the devil or some other BS that they may say.
Yep.
But it's like, no, it's you. Accept it, okay? And then
that's you.
Make moves. Shout out to Coach Gang. Accept it and then make moves accordingly. Accept your culpability. Accept that, yes, I'm going to buy this phone with coltan in it, even though people are dying because of it. And I take responsibility. And also, it'll help shape my future actions, as you mentioned, when you have power, right? So you're talking about accepting these principles. And I think that it's absolutely key there, because I would say that immediately you get into position of trying to wiggle yourself out of responsibility of something, you are moving away from a position of power and reality. Like, number one, you don't have power anymore, because you're somehow saying, well, it is outside my, and also it is not true. It is a lie that you somehow are the different one that will, everybody now would say, no, I would not have been the German. It's only the psychopaths. It's only, 2% of the population. It's like, no, it's not 2% of the population that do these things.
Actually, interesting thing with the psychopaths is they probably will be doing what most people are not doing. And that's what makes them psychopaths. They are deviants.
Exactly. So it's like, the Hutus and the Tutsis, how do you kill 1 million people with machetes
in like a few months?
In a few months. It's like, because everybody was participating. You too.
Yep.
So this idea of people trying to wiggle out of all kinds of responsibility and not be self-aware. This is a good way to approach self-awareness, because I tend to go from the experiential, like, look and notice and da da da. Maybe that's too hard for people to do. It's like, no, accept the fact that with the knowledge of good and evil comes the knowledge of your participation in all the evil and potential participation in the good as well. Not try to wiggle yourself out. Not trying to say, I will not be a Nazi. I will not have been the person in the gulag. I will not have been the person that, that snitched on Solzhenitsyn in order to get an extra piece of bread that day. No, that's you too, ladies and gentlemen.
It's interesting. Let's use something more close to home. COVID-19. Did you see? I mean, this virus is not even a significant virus. This is nowhere close to the Spanish flu or the bubonic plague. That's the Black Plague that killed many Europeans. Or even close to Ebola, the greatest sin of the modern day viral infection. COVID-19, if you looked at how people started to respond, let's talk about the Chinese people in China. They began by kicking some African people outside of their house, which makes no sense, because if they're outside, they're more likely to infect people. The logic there is out of my head. It's supposed to be one of the highest IQ countries. Nope. They started to also prevent them from going to certain restaurants, etc. How did this mass hysteria become? These are your normal average Chinese people now becoming to have hatred and affecting their racism against these people. People in America, African Americans, white people, started to call Chinese people, like point at them and call them, hey, look, mommy, it's COVID. They didn't even say this person might have COVID. They started to refer to Chinese people. Yeah, the Kung flu virus, right? Notice how this started to happen in a small amount of fear. And it happened enough that it became a big enough experience. People, when they are in fear, start to behave very, very cliquey. And they are willing to do terrible things to each other. Now, this is not so terrible compared to the past, right? But are you going to tell me that the average Mzungu that lived in a world where slavery was acceptable somehow wasn't part of this problem? Would you tell me that the average Hutu who participated in killing 1 million Tutsis was somewhat just a psychopath? That's a lot of psychopaths. Psychopaths apparently don't go more than 2%. There was definitely at least 20% of the people, at least 10% of people participating actively, and then another 30% helping them in other ways. Do you want to say about 30% of a population was somehow psychopathic? No, that's not how reality works.
And guess what some people tend to do then? They look back at the population and say, They were all these people were so complicit. Yes, yes, yes. Therefore, this race of people, the Muzungus, if you will,
No,
are bad people. Yeah, you know, they did. It's like, shut up. That's you too, idiot.
Yep. Whether it's Mzungu or not, it doesn't really matter. And what they will tend to say is, well, you see, we did slavery at a local level. We just had in servitude and whatever. No, that is what you're just doing is you're trying to make a quantitative argument. Okay, fine, it's not as bad, but that's also accidental. It's only accidental that it wasn't as bad. It's just that no one had the great idea to do what the Muzungu did. That's the only difference. Because you also colonized your own people. You do the same thing at a local level. They did it at the global level. The only difference is intent and ability at that temporal aspect. You are just as bad as each other. Those sacrifices you did to Everuchi, Evikanda, in the Colombian, in the Aztecs, those human sacrifices that they made, all of these aspects, you must accept that you are embodiment of evil and good. Now, when you accept this, guess what? You are more likely, probabilistically, able to now attenuate yourself. So that means connect yourself to the good, to God, as it may be. So if then everyone became self-aware, guess what? They will now be attenuated towards good. Now, we will still be sometimes be taken away by so-called non-good, because obviously we are human and we do know what good and not good is. But if we were self-aware enough, that's when now everyone starts to act in a way that generally the world fixes itself, attenuating itself towards goodness. And that will lead you to equanimity. The reason why these Buddhist monks are so tranquil is there for a reason.
100%, ladies and gentlemen. I think this was an apt buttressing of the points that were made in the interview prior, which is how to go out there and do the good. Okay. And then we said, okay, what is this good thing? Is it good for you to go out there and actually conquer your fears, go out there and solve problems in Africa, go out there and travel the land, go out there and not have regrets? And you said, oh, well, yes, because, you know, conscience, feelings will come up, things will happen, and so on and so forth, and you need to pay attention to that. I said, okay, cool. How about ways of suppressing that conscience and so on? So what is the reality? Is there something outside of it? And you say, yes, even if you have a panic attack and you can solve it through certain means, it could be drug means or even meditation type means, but there still is a flaw, a fault, a failure, a weakness in the system. And this is the reality. And then we took it large to talk about the weakness in the system and you writ large, right? That which makes it such that there are massacres in the world, and it's not out there, okay? It's in you. It's you that's doing those massacres. It's you that's cutting off those heads. If you don't believe it, I believe, as Yaduru says there, that you're even more dangerous because you don't even know. You're the guy that's going to be blindly chopping up your neighbor's heads because you never even thought that you would be that guy. You don't even understand how the system works, right? You don't even get it. You think you're outside of it. And it's this same people that do it right in front of your eyes, or the same people that will be complicit, the same people that will sit back and not do anything because they don't even understand that that's what they are, right? At least if you understand fully and you've gone there and you've seen, then you have the possibility of choice, right? You have the possibility of choice. And I'll give you the last word and we'll close this out.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people think that in Judgment Day that it's going to be a left versus right, meaning people on the left are all the traditionally seen as good, normal, law-abiding citizens. People on the right are the criminals, the killers, the grape juice drinkers, etc. However, in reality, it's going to be more kind of cut off in a diagonal sense, meaning it really is a lot more about your mentality, how you are, how you inculcate yourself towards yourself. And this is what will lead to your tranquility. Ultimately, you say that you seek happiness. You say that you seek to be fulfilled. But if you do not do this whole self-awareness thing, you will not actually reach the point that you say that you want. People tend to say money doesn't make you happy. Actually, yes, it will if you are self-aware. It will make you a lot happier if you're self-aware. Because you'll know what that money is. You'll know its position in your life. And it will improve the quality of life in every aspect if you're self-aware. If you're not self-aware, what will happen is even if you have it, it will disappear from your hands. There are many people that have been given opportunities, and I'll give an example of this one woman. This is a woman and who was given an opportunity to work for United Nations. She did a good job, but her boss wanted to date her. She said no, and obviously that may have led to other issues. She lost her job, and then she tried to go to the United Nations Council, and things didn't go her way because of how systems work and how people stick with each other. And obviously, United Nations probably is not in their best interest to admit to such things. She then lost everything, her money, her house that she was working with. Her mind stopped working properly. She had worshipped the getting rather than the internal tranquility. Everything fell apart. Her house, she was unable to even think of how to sell her land in order to pay off the house. She lost her house that she'd invested 95% of all the money that she was paying towards. Somehow she was unable to hold things. Now, the interesting thing is she got another opportunity to work for another United Nations job. And for a whole year, she worked it. Do you think that she actually was able to even get the house that she says that she was seeking?
No.
Nope. This woman unfortunately fell to the same trap that she failed. And if you notice the way she explained things, the first time she said that her boss was the issue, you can sympathize with the limited information that you had. The second time, you notice that she made a few comments. One of the reasons she lost her job, which is in Congo, is that she doesn't speak French. She didn't take any responsibility of saying, that is true. This is a half Francophone country. Perhaps if I spoke it, there are more things that I could have done. Instead, she focused on the fact that she did a great job. She livened up the job, etc., and people around her. She focused on the things she thought she did, but she ignored the points from the other side. She felt that things were unfair. That is what she was really saying. It's like, I did all these good things, but you just, for example, for some reason now watch this twice, two different people. And the fact that she was given the job can allow us to understand that there was no clicky thing going on. It's the fact that a person like this is competent, but is not self-aware enough to understand and take on criticism, to then learn from it, improve herself, and keep rephrasing everything. She's stuck at the point of competence, but she is not able to transcend that. And that is ultimately why she is where she is right now, living in a one-bedroom apartment, where she is worrying about rent, when previously she was living in a 6-bedroom house that she had paid 95% of the property to. And the final point is, the way that she referred to her friends is like this. She said, none of her friends, after leaving her when she lost her money, that's how she sees it, obviously, is that they were not real friends. They were just fakers waiting to leave her. Notice that, right? Granted, she has one friend who did say, yes, I was just waiting for you to fall. But she then generalized it.
I like that one. I like that friend. Like, yep. Responsibility. Go ahead.
Right. But you see, now that friend, what she did is that she chose to focus on that one friend that said that, generalized that all the friends left her because of the fact that she became poor. The reality is the friends left her because she became useless in being able to interact with her. It's not because they will never have friends. It's because they have things that they have to focus on. That lack of responsibility is ultimately why she is where she is.
100%. Thank you, Mr. K Polymath. And many, 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 many thanks to African Tigress, our guest of honor that we interviewed earlier on in the cast. Make sure you guys go ahead and help her get over the 100,000 subscriber hump. She's out there doing things. She's out there traveling. She's out there forming businesses. If you are in Nairobi, Kenya, and you're trying to get an Airbnb, look her up in her channel to see if you would like one of her places, if they would be available for you to stay there. And also she has other businesses and so on and so forth. She mentioned self-awareness when it comes to traveling. She says, observe, look, smell, listen to the environment that you're in, which is a new environment, before you know how to interact. When you look, you smell, you listen, and so on and so forth. And then you can interpret it based on your experience. You're like, okay, based on my experience, this would be the appropriate way to move. Based on my experience, this is the person that is in charge. Based on my experience, it seems that we should sit down now. We should stand up. We should move, blah, blah, blah. Self-awareness, absolutely key. And then we lifted it up all the way to the self-awareness of the absolute morality, or perhaps it's still tentative morality, but self-awareness is key all the way through, ladies and gentlemen. And we will be out. We will come back again on Tuesday with Dr. Thunder, on Wednesday with Joan. we'll be reviewing another video. And then on Thursday, I have the lead attorney who'll be showing up. Maybe I announced it too soon. I need to solidify and place that thing in the calendar to make sure that it happens. But definitely good times, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next time. If I can play us the song with which we take our departure. Peace.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannons could breach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. Hey, I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising, convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.